All right, guys, welcome to Tinfoil Hat, live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Studios. That's right. If you go to samtripoli.gold, use the promo code Tinfoil, you too can get in on the precious metals game for as little as $50 a month. And I'm telling you, this is how you stabilize your money, everybody. Get into precious metals, and trust me, they got a package for you where you can afford it. Trust me on that one. So excited for today's episode. I have watched his videos. It's absolutely riveting, and it really is, pulling back the curtain on some of, quote unquote, our heroes. So I'm very excited to have him on. He is a former Pfizer formulation analyst, scientist, and a whistleblower. Please welcome Justin Leslie. How are you?
Sam, thank you for having me on. Appreciate the time, man. I can't wait to dig into my story with you. It'll be exciting.
So those who may not be familiar with you, where is your video? Is it on Rumble or is it on one of the more deeper platforms?
It's on Rumble, or as some people call Stumble, but it's on Rumble.
We love Rumble here. We love Rumble. We love you.
No, I know. It's still on there. So it's on Rumble, and it's actually, believe it or not, it's on YouTube still. I don't know how. Although the amount of views it's gained on YouTube is a lot smaller, because I had it embedded from Rumble on my website, which is justintegrity.net. So just my first name, Justin, and then the word like integrity, kind of like from a South Park play. It's kind of funny how I came up with the name, but I just wanted people to know that I pretty much stand in integrity and just am a truth teller. And a lot of crazy stuff happened to me. So
yeah, you're a very brave man, because you were on a path to make a lot of money playing the game, and you decide to pick honor and humanity over money. And you'll still make money, but where you were going, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So I respect that a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about your story, and then we'll get into everything you found.
Okay, so I started off as a formulation analytical scientist at Pfizer in 2021 is when I was hired. And long story short, I essentially inserted myself as a scientist slash whistleblower there. I was in a master's program at Rutgers that I was partaking in, kind of just because I couldn't find a job when I got out of school. My undergraduate degree was in pharmaceutical and biomedical sciences. And so I went into this master's program and was pretty unhappy, to tell you the truth. And I wanted to see if I was going to even enjoy working in Big Pharma in general. I didn't realize the industry, how corrupt it was. I ultimately wanted to get into Big Pharma / just pharmaceuticals, biomedical science, because I have a rare multisystem disorder that I was diagnosed with at the age of 10 called tuberous sclerosis complex. It's a pretty rare disorder. And ultimately, I think the whole thing is potentially linked to vaccine injury or some form of a birth defect, actually, that may have to do with, my spine or something. But that's a story kind of for another day. But ultimately, I worked at Pfizer in 2021, starting in March, and I applied from the master's program. I basically left this master's program when I was extremely unhappy, and I worked at Pfizer for a little over a year. And during my time period working at Pfizer, I reached out to the media group Project Veritas, run by famous investigative journalist James O'Keefe, CEO.
The worst disguises ever. I mean, the worst. You could not get a worse. These people spill the beans. I just how do you not know that's a wig?
Yo, Sam, I'm serious. I think the whole thing to me is just
we'll get into that.
It's a staged psychological operation.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
But James has, supposedly organically, I'll put that in quotes, exposed, what is it, Planned Parenthood and a couple other relevant organizations, but has anything really come from his investigative journalism stories? I'm not so sure. So I reached out to them I started working with them in October of 2021, early October is when I started working with them. And I worked with them for about 2, 3 months or so. And I did a insider like sting operation on the inside of Pfizer at the age of 23. And they strung me along essentially the whole time. And one thing led to another. They said, we're not going to tell your whistleblower story because of this FBI raid that had to do with Ashley Biden's diary, which to me in real time felt like a psyop based off of what was going on behind the walls of Pfizer and like what I was doing. You know, it was a thing to shut me up. And they also used they used recording consent laws, which I also mentioned in my documentary. But my whole big thing is what I was exposing was absolute crimes against humanity. I was a whistleblower in my own right in the sense that my testimony ultimately could have saved the lives of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
Yes.
And the reality too is what I was actually exposing could have woke up normies. Like we're not just talking like a conspiracy rabbit hole. This is something service level that even moms on the liberal left would have woken up to in the sense that I was exposing that Pfizer approved a vaccine that they didn't do clinical trial testing on for kids from the ages of 5 to 12. So they had the same formulation essentially, but they did not actually do the clinical testing on this PBS buffer, and they approved the tris buffer. And so this was talked about on an FDA meeting essentially with a bunch of high-end regulators of the FDA and Pfizer, et cetera, et cetera. And my colleague actually brought this up on the meeting, and then I had a private meeting with him telling me that they gamed the FDA, that Pfizer gamed the FDA essentially. And Pfizer and the FDA came together on a bioequivalence agreement that there was reason to approve a certain vaccine over another based off of temperature and stability. But then, so my story was not told, and I had a whole lot more than just that as well, which we can get into. But I basically went to go work at O'Keefe Media Group and Project Veritas. Project Veritas came first. I worked at PV for like 9, 10 months or so. And Sam, we were talking offline and you brought up the whole thing with virology, and it's extremely relevant to the situation that I was in at the time, considering like the mind control behind this entire issue on like what is really making us sick, what is COVID-19, what are viruses. And so I was like rapidly waking up to what was going on essentially in laboratories and what's going on with viruses in general. And I was really waking up to the terrain model. And then I was working as an investigative journalist for Project Veritas, and I got their directed evolution Pfizer is mutating COVID story, which is a story that I got on Tristan Jordan Walker, who is in mRNA scientific planning. And he told me, quote, yeah, Pfizer's mutating COVID. It's this thing called directed evolution. And I don't have necessarily have evidence behind it, but my spidey senses go up with this story too, in the sense that a lot of my colleagues actually at Project Veritas knew that I spoke out against virology behind closed doors. And so like, why was this big Pfizer's mutating COVID story out in the open? It made Tucker Carlson 2 times actually. And so then one thing leads to another. I stayed at Project Veritas for a couple more months. Millions of dollars came in from this Pfizer story as well. And then, James left the company because of just whatever. I don't know. I think the whole thing felt like a charade, honestly, on both sides. I felt like the board and James were both playing like both sides, basically. It felt like a just means to destroy the company.
It's all theater.
Yes. And then lastly, I got a couple more stories at O'Keefe Media Group, some which were interesting. And then there were 2 stories that were shelved also at O'Keefe Media Group that I was extremely unhappy about that I brought up in my documentary. And then I found out in July of 2023 that James O'Keefe was going to Bohemian Grove and then did go to Bohemian Grove in July of 2023. And then
Damn.
He told me that he went to Bohemian Grove over the phone in the middle of August in summer of 2023. And then I resigned on that phone call because I was just done wearing a mask, done playing games. I felt like I had all the evidence in the world that I needed, considering during this whole, long monologue I've given you guys, that Jordan Walker story I gave to the world, it also afforded me the opportunity to build rapport and gain some of my whistleblower testimony back in regards to recordings as evidence for what happened with me because I felt like my story was just pretty unbelievable. Literally even me like believing that it happened. And so I produced a documentary with brother Marty Leeds of Gnostic Academy, and
Marty
it
Leeds. We got to get him back
it
on the show. He wrote songs about me to get on the
I
show.
know, I know.
I need to get him
Well,
on the show.
he says hello.
I'll have Marty Leeds on for sure. I'll hit up the booker.
It would be interesting to get us both on, honestly, at the same time and talk about this. But I actually chatted with Marty like less than 2 hours ago. So yeah, Marty and I put this together in like 6 or 7 months or so. I put out in March of 2024, and I've been doing my own media blitz. I'm not exactly a big media company or anything. I'm kind of just a whistleblower telling a story to people and looking to wake people up. And what happened to me can really open some people's eyes. So thanks for having me on.
No, I'm very excited. So let's start from the beginning. You're in high school. You're obviously into science. You find that you enjoy science, and you make a decision at that point that you want to go into pharmaceuticals. And
Yeah, I wanted to be a pharmaceutical sales rep or like a pharmaceutical scientist of some sort, and I ended up applying to University of Rhode Island, kind of on a whim. I thought I was going to be a pharma sales rep, honestly, and they told me to apply to this biomedical and pharmaceutical science degree that they had, and that I could still do the sales rep thing. And then one thing led to another, and it took 4 years to get through that program, and then basically COVID happened.
so when you're getting into this, obviously we all know there's money into pharmaceutical sales, and guess what? There's nothing wrong with wanting to make money. There's a lot of people are like, "Oh, dude, you're doing ads, you're doing this, you're controlled." It's like, no, dude, I'm a 53-year-old man with kids. I got to take care of people. I need to make my money. My dad said that. My dad's a wild man, but one of the best things he ever said to me is, "Don't hate somebody for making $1." Okay, if you're doing it honestly. So you go into that, your belief in science and virology and all that stuff. Would you say it's normie, because you kind of brought it up, liberal moms or progressive moms would open their eyes to this? Is that kind of how you saw the world?
I mean, in a way, I would never say I'm like liberal at all. If anything, I was more right leaning.
Right, but I mean, but in terms of your belief system into
yeah, for sure.
viruses and what the pharmaceutical company is actually trying to do, which is good and help people.
I'd say I never believed in vaccines, but I didn't realize the corruption behind vaccines and virology itself until I really got into the thick of it with like COVID. Just woke a lot of people up, and me included. It forced me to really face myself and look myself in the mirror and say, am I going to go into this pharmaceutical industry for the rest of my life, lying to myself, making a pretty penny, but essentially just digging my grave in regards to where my own divine axis moral authority wants to live.
So there's a very famous comic, not going to say his name. He does a joke about convincing, basically behind his wife's back, taking his kid to go get vaccinated. And it's kind of presented in some way of like, I rebelled against dumb and stuff like that. So, but there is a lot of mothers out there that have this view of vaccines as like, it's a must, it's life-saving. I don't want anything to happen to my children. and yet they more easily believe that, you know, autism and stuff like that comes from genetics. And I'm not saying there is no connection to genetics, but you know, when we take a look at like RFK taking us down from 67 or 77 shots down to 11, like that's a huge win. But like nobody wants to look into like, why are we taking 77 shots through our childhood, and why has that been amped up? And does the fact that they can't get sued and it's just more money for them? It's very weird to me how protective mothers are on certain issues, and then on other issues they're just blind as a bat and they don't even have sonar, right? And like if I told you there was a chance if you go to this particular park, there's a 10% chance or 20%. I don't even know what the rate of autism is yet. It's always skyrocketing, but let's say it's 20%.
It's 1 out of 5, right?
Yeah, something like that. 20, so 20%.
It's like 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4, maybe even 1 out of 3.
So we're at 20. Let's just go with 20%. There's a 20% chance your child will get injured at this park. These moms wouldn't go there. But yet, when you have this discussion, they just can't understand it.
Would they go there if it was a 1%? You know what I mean? That Warren Buffett has this great analogy where he's like, if there was, you offer me $1 million to pull a gun that had 1 million chambers, and one of them had a bullet in it, I wouldn't do it. It's not worth it to me because the risk is so great. You know what I mean? And you really have to think, what are we so afraid of? You know, like what is motivating us to?
There
fear,
is,
right?
You know, like there's a big part of the female psyche that is very much concerned about safety. It's the motherly love, and everything's about safety. And, you know, a lot of that is why we've basically nerfed our entire society. That's why you see like adults riding on a bike with a bike helmet on. You know, it's like all this stuff. And, you know, everyone's got to win. Everyone's a winner, all this stuff. You know, so that fits right into it. Like if someone of authority who is presented as someone who wants to save you from sickness, and we live in a very scarcity society and culture where there's only so many days alive, and someone says, I can help you get more of those days, you can extend your life, a lot of people are going to listen, not just women, but men as well. And it's just this emotional blackmail that is done on mothers and fathers to inject their kids with toxic metals.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, to me, it's also, you're making great points. It's also generational traumas backed on the history that we've been told about pandemics like the Black Plague or what is it, polio, you know, any of these big trigger viruses and bacteria, whatever that makes people sick over, you know, causing over 1,000 plus deaths. Like anytime people hear of over 1,000 people dying from something, they immediately
get scared,
shiver up and get scared. And the reality is, you know, it's really trauma induced mind control is what it is. And it's something that's fed to us at a very young age. You're fed, you know, unless you're coming in to a holistic family when you're born, that's all about like home birthing and, you know, homeopathy, chiropractic and like naturopathy. If you're not growing up with that, you're going to the pediatrician and you're getting jabbed by, you know, your pediatrician. And the sinister thing here is that you're injecting kids who cannot speak out against something that's going against their will, essentially. You know, they inject kids right out of the womb. That's one of the most sinister things that can happen ever, where, you know, that's essentially an attack on God from my perspective, where it's, you know, you're injecting a baby with chemicals that it does not actually consent
They don't
to.
even have an immune system yet. And you're hitting them with something that is so foreign to this newborn baby. And like, if women actually, mothers and fathers, actually took a moment to understand what they are implying with the Hep B shot, right? Which is basically the mom is a cocaine sex monster and we have to protect the kids from this disease. And that's exactly what it is. That's what they're saying. Hey, the mom is probably a cokehead sex monster. We have to protect this child from anything the mother gave to them.
Or maybe we just ask her, hey, mom, are you a cocaine sex monster?
Yeah. When was the last time you did coke? They'll probably say never because they're giving birth. But, hopefully you know who you're getting pregnant. Who knows these days? But, so it's so dark and sinister. And, you have to sit there and watch that kid to stop them from putting that shot in because they're getting paid to do all this stuff. And that's the most darkest part of this. The amount of money that pediatricians make. And when you understand that pediatricians have a 60% quota of their patients must be vaccinated for them to be eligible to make money from these pharmaceutical companies. It's like we all talk about that with tickets where cops have a quota. The guy gets so many tickets, and so they're just pulling everybody over, right?
Yeah.
This is the exact same thing, but nobody talks about that. It's insanity. All right, guys, real quick, you guys know your money is depreciating every day. They're just printing more and more money. If you want to stabilize your cash, one way, and it's exploding, and we've been telling you it forever, precious metals. You got to get into it, dude. And there's no better place to go than our good friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. That's right. Go to Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. Go to samtripoli.gold. And let me tell you a little bit about Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. If you're paying attention, you know that de-dollarization is real. Fiat is fake, and you don't want to be left holding the bag when the dollar collapses. Gold and silver has been money through all of recorded history and are an excellent way to protect yourself from inflation and geopolitical turmoil. That's why I trust my friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver for all things precious metal. Veteran-owned and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. No transaction is too big or too small, and you can even roll over your 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver. And if you think you can't afford precious metals, think again. With the Wolfpack monthly membership program, you can get gold and silver delivered directly to your door for as little as $50 a month. Wise Wolf Gold and Silver also deals in and accepts Bitcoin. So go to samtripoli.gold, promo code tinfoil at checkout to receive free constitutional silver. And remember, in the world of bulls and bears, be the wolf. All right, guys, real quick, I want to tell you about our good friends at ShipStation. Listen, when your company is growing fast, order fulfillments can make or break your success. ShipStation's intelligence-driven platform brings order management, rate shopping, inventory, and returns, warehouse systems, and comprehensive analytics all in one place, saving customers 15 hours per week on fulfillment.
With ShipStation, everything you need to manage getting orders to customers is in one place. Connect to over 200 sales channels. Instead of 5 to 7 disconnected tools, you've got one. ShipStation compares rates across all major global carriers. You're talking the Postal Service, UPS, FedEx, including your own discounted rates if you have those, to find you the best shipping option on every order with discounts up to 90% off. And I can attest to this. I've used it myself. Have negotiated carrier rates, bring them. Keep your discounts, add ShipStation's automation and intelligent features. Set up time-saving automations. Also, you can do that. ShipStation picks the best carrier. As I said, finds you the best rate. It can print labels in bulk, and it even sends tracking updates. Done. Sharing tracking details cuts customer service inquiries by 12%. Returns management gives you data on what's coming back and why, and analytics show you where you're saving and where to optimize. 1 million businesses have trusted ShipStation, including me, actually. I've trusted ShipStation for years. I've been using for years, truly.
Try ShipStation free for 60 days with full access to all of our features. No credit card needed. Go to ShipStation.com. Use the code TINFOIL for 60 days for free. 60 days gives you plenty of time to see exactly how much time and money you're saving on every shipment. That's ShipStation.com, code TINFOIL. That's ShipStation.com, code tinfoil, and we thank them for sponsoring the show.
I think I've actually elicited ChatGPT, Sam, on the consequences of virology not being real, like being a pseudoscience. And I believe it was in like $4 trillion worth of like a per capita like G whatever the term in
Gross natural
$4 trillion
domestic process.
gross
Yeah,
capita.
GDP.
Yeah, GDP. Not a financial guy.
Yeah, that's fine. You're cooking with gas. But I would love if you could jump on my Facebook once in a while and just start battling these people that anytime I put anything about viruses not being what we think they are, the amount of toxicity thrown at me.
You get it on Instagram too for that. It's surprising because I would think most of the listeners of the show would be kind of on board, but you get a lot of shit.
Well, again, going back to Johnny, the story at the Comedy Store where I told you the guy went nuts on me. Yeah. The truth of the matter is he's really scared about what he put in his body, and he's releasing that in anger at me that I'm the bad guy, and so that's why people are like. Even like there's people like Kurt Metzger, who is like the best of the best, a supercomputer of conspiracies, isn't ready yet to go to the no virus place. And it's just crazy. So when you get into the plagues, okay, can you go a little deeper into that for some of the newer listeners who haven't heard us talk about that? Like why the plagues are a psyop?
I mean, the easy one to explain is the Black Plague, where they say it's, I forget the virus name. You can go look it up, what they're claiming, but ultimately it's something that happened around Poland, right? And then it was ultimately just infestation with mice and living conditions was what was causing people to die. And so the explanation for why people get sick in large amounts has to do with the terrain, and the terrain is essentially just your body, and think of your body as nature. So when you're exposed to filthy conditions like rats and fleas and, crap in the streets, for example, you are going to get sick. Your body is going to look to detox. And so that's what sickness and illness ultimately is. And when living conditions are not optimal, that's where we can see things, expedite in regards to deaths. And for COVID, for example, the invisible virus wasn't out there. It was more or less, they locked us into our houses for 9 months or so, told us not to talk to grandma, not to talk to anybody, induced fear on the population, had us wear masks. And then they also just implemented all these 5G towers that
cranked it up.
Questioning, and there's the chemtrails that kind of popped up out of nowhere. I don't really remember if they were out there before 2020, but I mean, anybody who's paying attention and is a critical thinker or a so-called conspiracy theorist is looking at the sky and can acknowledge that there's lines that just stay in the sky and then disperse. And those are likely filled with heavy metals. I mean, I believe it's been proven in government documentation regarding all of that. So that's what makes people sick, and when you scare people en masse and have CNN, the death ticker just going up and up and up and up.
Just think about all that. I remember that, dude. It was so crazy.
All of these things collectively can induce people to die. Like you ever see grandma die and then grandpa dies like a week or two later? That's because he has a broken heart. People lost the will to live, literally. And I mean, the whole thing with the PCR test is a fraud. Like, just stick this thing up your nose and then say, any random genetic code is going to pop into a PCR test and, you're positive when you're not expressing symptoms. Where meanwhile, you can put vodka on the same thing and it tests positive. Oh, is there COVID in the vodka? Like, no, it's all just a fraud. And both sides played a role. There's the psyop within the psyop that people think that Trump was like playing some game with, this Q narrative. Like I fell into the Q trap actually and thought that Trump was a good guy at first. And I really woke up to the whole thing.
Operation Trust, dude. You were exactly who they were trying to corral.
Yeah, it's Operation Trust, Operation Mockingbird, essentially. But Operation Trust, right? The Bolsheviks. Once I dug into that, I was really, my eyes woke up to what was going on with Q and everything else. And even in my documentary, there's people that were connected to Q, Anon, or whatever you want to call it. The Brian Gamble, and General Mike Flynn, and all these people in the alternative media seem to be connected in Amazing Polly's actually talked about this, where quoting her, she calls it the narrative network. And to me, I think David Icke also has talked about it, where it's like it's the mammoth is what he calls it, the mainstream alternative media industrial complex. And it's literally just these, it's like the CIA/IIA operations that's talked about in my film, where it's interactive internet activities and it's selective algorithms that are essentially pushed out to people that are used to ultimately put information in front of people. So
Yeah, it's called Oopa looping too. Have you heard the new term Oopa looping? Have you heard that?
No, dude.
Oh yeah,
Oompa
dude.
looping? No. Is that
Like
Oompa?
Oompa Loompas?
Oompa looping, it's called.
Oompa looping or like Oompa looping? Like Oompa Loompas?
No, not Oompa, but what it is.
Like
Okay,
Oompa
is
Loompa
Kurt
from Willy
Metzger
Wonka,
was
right?
talking about this. It goes back to this, this farming, where basically they put out bounties on narratives. Okay, and everyone runs there, and they say, "Hey, there's a $50,000 bounty on this tweet. Those who get the most views." For let's say 100,000 or 1,000,000 views on your tweet or on your YouTube page, you can collect this much of this bounty. And some guys get the whole bounty because they get the huge numbers. But that's why you see the similar narratives over in tweet after tweet after tweet, because they're Oopa looping. That's what it's called. Oopa looping. Sorry. So it's Oopa looping. And that's a big part of it. But real quick, going back to the sickness, it's like poor health and stuff like that. It's also anxiety. You said anxiety, excuse me. Eating bad, getting no sleep, stress, which could be anxiety, but stress. And that's why, like, a restaurant, let's say they have a slam Saturday night, everybody the next 2 days is sick. And they're like, oh, virus got passed around. It's like, no. Everybody was railing it, redlining it, and they were stressed because the restaurant was packed. And then you also have this thing where, like, if one person's feeling bad, and someone's immune system's down through anxiety, being tired, not eating well, they can basically kick off your immune system like that, and that's how it spreads to everybody because their immunity is down. It's not a passing of a fucking virus. It's that everyone is stressed out and they're all working in the same environment, and that's how it happens. And it's also that they're so smart and they're so evil, dude. They studied our cycles. Right? And if you look at animals have a mating season. That's when they all mate together, right? So we have a season a certain time where we all detox our toxins out of ourselves. And what they did, they labeled that flu season. Oh, it's flu season, everybody. Everyone's getting the flu. No, we're all detoxing our toxins out of our cells. And then it's like run and grab your flu. Everyone I know gets the flu vaccine.
Yeah,
Gets sick.
I give it to you. You're spot on for the most part. I know people that talk about the terrain model and they don't call it an immune system anymore. They simply just call it your terrain. But other than that, I fully believe what you're saying is a fact. What they'll call it instead of an immune system is the biofields, which if you look into the work of Eileen McCusick, she's a sound healer. There's like she has this theory essentially that there's like 12 waves of energy around our body, and that is ultimately what could be the explanation for contagion as we know it or shedding, which has to do with this COVID vaccine, because no one will deny that, I know people who have shed on people before in the sense that they were vaccinated and sat next to somebody and then their menstrual cycles linked up. That is an explanation for what the biofield theory ultimately could be over what the germ theory is. And there's the contagion studies that have been done. There's been over like 200 contagion studies. Tom Cowan and Jacob Diaz and all these people in the Terrain camp, Liev Dalton, Alex Zek, all these people have spoken about this. Daniel Roytos as well. They all speak on the fact that contagion has never been proven itself. So that applies with viruses as well as bacteria. And so it really forces you to look at what's going on inside your body internally. And one other thing that could ultimately talk to what contagion is Veda Austin's work, who she works on structured water, where she's done like egg experiments and she does water freezing experiments where she'll freeze water and speak to it. She'll speak poorly to it, or she'll say she loves it, for example. And the water that she speaks poorly to shows up in a sort of negative. It's hard to explain. You really have to kind of watch her work, but it shows up in a grayish and weird looking picture, shows up in the ice essentially. And then when she says "I love you" to the ice, it shows up like with hearts or with this free flowing wave energy, and it just goes to speak on how we're 70% water. When you're treated optimally and you speak love into your life and love to your neighbor, they are going to have better health outcomes. Is the theory essentially with all of this. And it's been done with eggs, where there was one egg that was like vaccinated or had antibiotics and all this nonsense going through its egg cycle with its mom, with like crappy corn that the mom was eating essentially. And then there were all these other like grass fed or, pasture raised eggs essentially that were really healthy. And when you freeze those eggs, the bad egg froze very poorly. It looked like crap, a lot of gray, a lot of nonsense. And then the other eggs looked great. But when you put that one egg around the other eggs and then freeze them, they change the coherence in that one egg. So it can really speak to what was happening during that time period. And I'm not making positive claims, but people will ask, oh, if it's not a virus, then what is it? Well, it could ultimately be the fear-based propaganda that you were exposed to for like 9 months to a year plus, along with wearing a mask and being told that grandma's going to die. That's why you got sick. And it's just everybody else around you is in that bubble. So that's why states like Florida and the southern states too, I think, had better health outcomes because they were not buying it as much, whereas the Northeast and New York, I'm from Connecticut, like all those states were really into the propaganda, because they're left leaning. All the MAGA crowd, the Trump supporters, and those that are complete anarchists against the system itself are the ones that weren't taking the shots or wearing masks.
Isn't it weird? I don't know how much you fly lately, but how the number of people wearing masks seems to have ticked up.
Yeah. I flew a month and a half ago or so, or like like 2 weeks ago I flew. Yeah, and people, there were 3, 4, 5 something people with masks on the plane when, I felt like it dropped to zero. And I think these people just think that people are nuts. I mean, I won't shame them. I'll tell them that you don't need to wear that though. And I'm not going to like make fun of them and put them on the internet, but I explain to them that they don't need to wear the mask. And then they're like, oh, well, I didn't get sick during COVID, so I might as well just wear it now. And I'm like, all right, well, viruses don't exist, so you're probably jabbed up.
And you tell me you're a virologist?
Pretty much, yeah.
I can't believe they won't listen to you. That is so insane to me. You're hearing it right from the mouth of a scientist who studied that, and you still want to believe. Now, Johnny, you're one of these guys that still love viruses and love talking about them all the time.
Oh, I love viruses. Yeah, I
number one.
big
And
fan
do you
of
have any
viruses.
questions of the virologist on how viruses aren't real, or are you going to stay in your medieval way of looking at
Okay,
life?
I mean, nobody wants to hear me interrogate this, but I'm curious. So we do have like controlled studies where among animals, where in controlled settings they observe contagion. What do you say to those? And how do you think the field theory applies to animals as well?
I haven't looked at the animal ones myself, so I can't speak to them. I've looked at the human studies, and
Okay.
from my understanding, it's a 0% chance that contagion occurs in humans.
And
which is
bacteria
what we
too,
are.
you're saying?
Yeah. Yes,
All
100%. And I mean, the explanation in regards to virology, it links a lot back to the 1954 Enders paper
Yeah.
with cell culture and cytopathic effect that occurs where, you essentially take human snot and you put it into a cell culture plate, and then you're assuming that there's a virus in this snot, and then you start treating it with like antibiotics and fetal bovine serum, and then cells die, and then you're claiming that the virus is what killed these cells. And
Right.
when you do an independent experiment with the scientific method, it shows how fraudulent the industry really is, because when you treat it with just antibiotics and fetal bovine serum and the way cells are supposed to be cultured supposedly without the so-called virus or without the human sample itself, the cells die. And so that's science for you. It's right there. It's very simple, honestly, and it's hard for people to wrap their heads around this concept. And so, I mean, you can think I'm crazy. I don't really care if the audience thinks I'm crazy or not.
And on this
It's
show,
the reality.
bro.
this show,
Not on your show.
you're like
on the right
the
place.
you're like the B girl from the Blind Melon video. You found your friends. So
Wait up, I got a quick question. So usually I hear, I don't have kids, but I always hear people
Thank
say,
God.
yeah, thank God. I always hear people say, my kids got me sick. Oh, there's something going around.
But
No.
I'm telling you, it goes back, and then you'll give the scientific
The virologist,
answer.
yeah.
But
Okay.
And I just want
it's the triggering thing I talked about, where you trigger somebody's he didn't call it immune system, but terrain system. You trigger that. It goes back to what I'm saying about the restaurant. Everybody's high stress. Nobody's getting sleep. Everyone's eating. If it's a restaurant, they're all doing blow. Okay, so their their terrain system shot, and they just trigger each other. I could be wrong on that, but what are your thoughts?
I concur with what you're saying, Sam. I mean, you're pretty spot on. When your environment is similar to other people's around you and they all get sick, that could ultimately be an explanation for why people are getting sick as well.
Especially if you have kids, man, you're working all the time because you got to take care of your family.
stressed out, yeah.
And then they come home and it just triggers your stuff, man, and it just gets you.
People in the terrain camp don't say people don't get sick. It's just there's the burden of proof logical fallacy where we are looking at the virus and bacteria making people sick and exposing the fact that they're making claims that don't have scientific backing. And then people say, oh, but you're saying people don't get sick. That's not what we're saying. We're ultimately coming up with other explanations as for why, but we're not making positive claims either. Sam, what you were saying about the seasons and how, nature happens essentially where like trees, they shed their leaves, for example. If you think of that, like the cold season, if you think of it like influenza is shedding your leaves, that's essentially your perfect metaphor. Trees go through their seasons and then their leaves grow back. If your lungs are shedding certain mucosa or whatever nonsense has been accumulating in your lungs over the last several months, and you're going into like a hibernation mode or whatever during the winter season, because that's what nature is telling our bodies to do, there you go. And with the whole syncing up of menstrual cycles and everything else, that could be an explanation for the biofield and how our bodies also communicate with each other. So if I'm going through a detoxification phase, having a little cold, coughing up my lungs basically for a day or so, if I have a roommate or if I, live down the street from Johnny so-and-so and I walk near and spend time with Johnny so-and-so for an hour, my terrain or biofield can communicate to his that, hey, it's time to detox. But some people say that coherent fields are just always going to be fine, but people get sick. That's a reality. It's just
Yes.
it's been fear mongered into, oh, I got to take my ibuprofen. Oh, I got to go get the flu vaccine. Oh, I have cancer. I need to go get chemotherapy. It escalates to that level of how much we've been lied to, so
2026 is the year your business stops acting like a game of telephone gone wrong. Scattered messages, missed calls, and who's handling this shouldn't be a daily ritual. A modern communication system is like giving your team a GPS instead of a treasure map drawn by a toddler. Everyone stays aligned, responds faster, and no opportunity disappears into the void. In that moment of clarity, you'll catch yourself saying, all right, let's fucking quo. Okay, dude. And that's why today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Quo. QUO, the smarter way to run your business.
Quo works wherever you are, right from an app on your phone or computer, and lets you keep your existing number. You can add new numbers or teammates in minutes. You can sync your CRM and rely on seamless routing and call flows as your business scales. And Quo isn't just about the phone system. It's a smart system. Quo's AI automatically logs calls, generates summaries, and highlights next steps so nothing gets lost. It can even qualify leads or respond after hours, ensuring your business stays responsive even when you're finally offline. And it's easy. Calls, texts, voicemails, transcripts, and contact details all live in one clean view. With full context at your fingertips, your team communicates faster, stays aligned, and delivers a more personal experience.
So listen, this is the great year. This is the year your business turns around, and let's make this year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/tinfoil. That's quo.com/tinfoil. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. So there's something called Cox postulates. And then supposedly after that, when they couldn't prove a virus, they came up with, and I don't know the exact term, but for some reason, I think it's Rivers requirements or something like that, that really, really changed the way in which we decide whether there's a virus or not. Do you have any clue of what I'm talking about?
yeah, I've heard of Cox postulates. I don't have it like recited off the top of my head. I think it's 4 points, but Cox postulates has to do with proving that the entity that you are claiming that exists, or not exists necessarily with bacteria, but you're claiming is causing sickness, you have to prove that it's causing sickness in another person, I
Yeah.
believe.
You isolate it and scoop it out, put it in somebody else, isolate it, scoop it out, put it in somebody else, isolate, scoop it out, and put it in somebody else. And
Yeah, so it's never actually been done with viruses. And I mean, I'm not sure if it's technically been done with bacteria, based off of my new knowledge about bacteria and what's been talked about in the terrain camp about bacteria is technically a good thing, because bacteria gets demonized as well. So yeah, but I've definitely heard about Cox postulates and Rivers postulates. I'm not so sure about. I'll have to look into it.
yeah, they came up with a new one later on that made it easier for them to prove it. I think it starts with an R. I got to call Dr. Andy Kaufman because I heard him talking about it. But let's get back to your whistleblowing, okay? You had experiences with mRNA vaccines. Now, what is there any different type of is there vaccines and then mRNA vaccines, or are they all mRNA vaccines?
I mean, to tell you the truth, my perspective right now is that whatever this mRNA vaccine technology is it's essentially a toxic poison bomb. It's something that's going to wreak havoc on your body. It's going to potentially cause cardiovascular issues and or some sort of psychological issues where, I mean, people that take the vaccine, there is so far detached from God and the truth nowadays, as well as, you know, extreme circumstances like Guillain-Barré syndrome, where you can't walk for a few days, and I mean it's caused people to just have long-term effects as well. The thing with the mRNA technology is, I mean, my perspective on science as a whole has pretty much drastically changed, and so genetics to me has also changed in a way where, to me, is it really is it this mRNA that's wreaking havoc, or is it just a formulation that they created, a bioweapon that is meant to essentially cause harm and kill people? That's what, to me, this mRNA thing is a front for, where they were working on this formulation of mRNA back in 2018 with Ugur Sahin, the BioNTech CEO. They were working with Pfizer simultaneously. So Trump was in office, whole 9 yards, and they were behind the scenes, I guess, working on this. And Moderna has been working on this stuff for over 10 years, supposedly. You know, back in the 2010s is when Moderna became a thing. And so this whole thing was planned. And they're using this RNA, to me, as more of a front for just this will kill you type formulation. And that's not to fearmonger, because I know people who have taken it and are fine. I'm not here to fearmonger you and tell you, oh, you're going to die now just because you took this thing. You just need to be extremely conscious and aware of what you're putting in your body. And this is something that you don't want to be putting on your body. And so, like, Sam, to touch on like what is even in the vials, I mean, in my documentary, I did some crazy stuff, dude. Like, I put this under a microscope with Dr. Carrie Madej, and then she broke NDA with Project Veritas and spoke out essentially for me as a whistleblower when we put it under a microscope. And I mean, I'm extremely grateful, honestly, that Dr. Carey did go on Stu's show, regardless of whether we trust Stu Peters or not. That information got out there, and it brought some fear for sure to people, but it also turned a lot of people away from taking the poison itself. I hope, at least. That's the way I look at it. And what she did is she just took pictures from the Pfizer vials and put it on a show, and then there was the Johnson & Johnson vials and then the Moderna vials, which I watched all of these with my own eyes, and, you know, cross my heart, hope to die. Like, what she put on the screen on his broadcast was what I witnessed. And like, some people will say it's an air bubble, but there was this black disc basically that had a thing spinning around it. And so, to me, it seemed like it could have been a parasite of some sort. And from my friends and experts that I talk to in the naturopathy and terrain world, they say parasites live in vaccines. And so it's not shocking to see something like that necessarily, to me. And just to inject those types of things into people is a bit sinister. And I mean, I also have a unique perspective on parasites in the sense that they're not necessarily the thing that's causing cancer or disease in you. They're actually more of a cleanup crew, but they follow the heavy metals, which is what this graphene oxide substance ultimately is, as well as whatever other toxic heavy metals and polyethylene glycol is in these vaccines. And so 100%, Carrie Madej said that there were graphene-like substances, or it was graphene oxide, and she just couldn't fully identify it under the microscope. And so we looked at those 3 vials, and I actually brought mRNA flu as well as self-amplifying RNA flu vaccines just to see if there was a difference in the vials on what we were looking at. And those vials, actually, the mRNA and saRNA, looked even a little bit more scary in a way, or more like there was like spider webs of these like tentacles almost across this microscope screen. And just, I was like fearing for my life basically at this point. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm exposing this crazy neural network is what she called it. And to me, it's not necessarily like microchips are being like put into people's heads from the vaccine. It's more of an explanation for what could be self-assembling in regards to the cardiovascular trauma that is happening in people where, embalmers have pulled out big, huge
Calamari.
strings. Yeah, calamari is what you said. Yeah. Basically calamari, except it's 3 feet long coming out of people's, groin area or out of their carotid arteries. So it's pretty crazy.
I mean,
sinister
you look
stuff.
at the Foo Fighters drummer. His heart was 3 times what's normally supposed to be, completely clogged up. And the Dave what's Dave's name from Foo Fighters? Grohl made them all get it.
What?
Yeah, he made them get the vaccine.
Like a tour.
And that's why, again, when that guy was yelling at me in the store, I know it's out of fear. Like, what did he put in his body? And, it's just like, I guess you get to a point of when you're a conspiracy theorist, it's like, unless it's your loved ones, and even then sometimes, don't trust anybody. Don't just sit there and accept what they're telling you, because they have so much money involved. And just the way that people will take the bag over friends, family, and humanity is absolutely shocking to me.
Dude, I mean, we've had Steftone on. He doesn't go on tour because he doesn't fly and he doesn't take vaccines. He taught someone how to play, so whenever they're out of tour, that guy
He doesn't leave the country.
He doesn't leave the country unless.
So he never tours with the band?
No,
Or just when
he'll
they're-
take like a bus.
He's
right?
the only one on tour on a bus.
It's like the John Madden of
Yeah,
music. That's
Yeah.
great.
exactly.
Yeah.
And he stands for what his thing. Because I'm not. He's like, to me, I already have the money. They're not paying me, and he's like, he just taught someone, gave him a percentage of the deal. He's like, there you go, taught him how to play. It's
Can
pretty
I
bad.
ask? I have a question. So we had Dr. Artis on who, and he's among a group of people who say that venom is actually the culprit with respect to viral. I can't use any of the words, but infection is the word I'm going to use. But I know you may have a different take on it. But what do you think of the venom hypothesis?
I don't think it really has any weight to it personally. I've researched it myself, and people have said that this is it, but when you look into it, I don't think it has any scientific backing. I'd have to look more into it, and I could like send you stuff. I can't just answer why right now, but I don't really buy that it's snake venom, like in vaccines, or that it's the virus itself. Like there's the whole thing of like watch the water or whatever, and that it was snake venom in water.
Yeah.
That was what COVID was. I don't think that has there's no scientific evidence of it at all. It's just kind of fear-based propaganda claims. And if you paid attention to what QAnon is, they had a freaking Q drop that says watch the water. And then, Stu Peters is out here. He makes a documentary called Watch the Water. And I think that could be a connection of something, where you just get people to buy these little fish hooks of nonsense. That's to me what it really is it's nonsense. It's not to bash your belief or anything. Or Brian
it's not
Oh,
Artis'
mine.
belief. I just think he's wrong.
And we're
personally.
allowed to disagree. Yeah, you can disagree with them. It's totally fine. I would say you should never ever hold on to anything just blindly. You should always be
Well-
open to new data and stuff like that. So I have no
He
problem
did.
saying that.
He did do incredible work on exposing remdesivir during the scamdemic, where he put all of the remdesivir work together and put it out and showed people how remdesivir is essentially an explanation for why people were dying, because it was in the hospital protocol. So it's the main drug that once you tested positive for COVID, they put you on remdesivir because that's what Fauci said to do. And so
Even Trump
cheers
was
for
talking
that.
about
That's awesome.
remdesivir. Like he was like, I take it. It's a great drug. It's a great drug. And you're like, dude, 50%. And Johnny doesn't like that stat, but
50% of people who had Ebola, yes, were treated with remdesivir. That's true. Yes.
yes, for sure.
That's a correlation, right?
So you go into Pfizer bright-eyed, wanting to help. You start to see something crazy. Do you contact Pfizer? Do you contact James O'Keefe and that group and be like, I see some stuff. I think you guys would be interesting. Take us through that.
So I actually reached out to Project Veritas prior to accepting this job opportunity. It was offered to me in late February of 2021, and I sent them an email the same day that I was offered the job, asking them, what do you guys think? I feel like I can be a whistleblower and go in and work at Pfizer. What do you think? And they basically said, we can't tell you what to do, but if you've come across newsworthy information, please reach out to us. And
so you went into Pfizer with the idea you might see some shit and expose it. So what made you think that?
Sam, it was March of 2021. So vaccines were already going into people. Like most people that wanted to be double jabbed, or the elderly, the elderly that got early access to the vaccines were already pretty much double jabbed. So it's not like I worked on the vaccines prior to the rollout even happening. I got there a little late in the game, so I couldn't have prevented, anything up until I got in the doors, which was early March of 2021 is when I moved to Boston. And so like you're saying, I reached out to them prior to even taking it. And to me, it was just God winking at me, like saying, hey, bud, you got to go. You know what's up with these vaccines. You know that they're killing people. Go see it for yourself. And I did. And so it took me 5 or 6 months really to actually start working with them though. March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So 7 months, basically. The end of September, 7-8 months is when it started to help. They wanted to actually work with me. And I had reached out to them in August. I got on the phone with them one time and they didn't really budge. And I think that's ultimately because of the recording consent stuff that they turned away at first. And then they wanted to work with me again, which to me, they never brought up recording consent law. And then they brought it up as an issue as why we're not going to tell your story, after they had me work for them for 3 months and supposedly spent like $1 million or $2 million something dollars on this investigation on Pfizer.
That's crazy.
So yeah. And there's receipts for that. Actually, I don't have them like saved anywhere, but they are brought up on an interview.
Can you describe your work briefly when you were there? What? Because we hear that title and I don't know what it means.
It's confusing. Formulation analytical scientist essentially means that I was working on drug formulation. So I was working on the specific ingredients of what was in the vaccine, or my team was at least, and I was an analytical scientist, and so more or less, people would hand drug product to me, this so-called vaccine or researched vaccine. So they would come up with different formulations with different ingredients. So there's the COVID vaccine, but I was also working on this mRNA vaccine, like I was talking about, as well as self-amplifying RNA vaccine. And they all had little different ingredients. And this has to do with the buffer systems that come into formulations, which actually led to one of my big whistleblower takes is we're working on what is going into the vaccine itself. And so I was on a small scale manufacturing team. So a smaller team of 10 to 20 people, basically. And we were doing analytics for research and development on a small scale so that they could make it bigger. They could make it a large scale manufacturing thing based off of the stability studies that the small scale team was doing. So very much on the front lines in the sense that I was holding the COVID vaccine essentially every single day as a control mechanism for the science experiments that I was doing, and working on the analytics for stability studies.
You mean is that like shelf stability, like how long it would last? Because I remember them talking about how long it was effective for. That was a problem in the in the early going.
Shelf stability, as well as just, yeah, I mean, shelf stability is a good short answer, but just to see how the RNA itself would be
Degrade.
handled long term,
Right.
degrade, and what would be up with like the lipid nanoparticles if those would degrade, which those are known carcinogens now. And Mike Yeadon, Pfizer vice president, he's been very outspoken about that as well. So
when you're in Pfizer, is there any internal talking, not necessarily amongst the brass, but amongst your fellow workers about like, what the fuck are we doing? This doesn't make any sense. Should I just greenlight this because it's not working? And any of that discussion, anybody have a soul there that you kind of connected with? You're like, okay, we're the only two normal people here. Let's talk about all the fucked up shit we've seen.
Truthfully, I didn't really have any friends when I was working there. I have since come to know that there were certain people behind the scenes similar to me that they wouldn't take the shot. And like I had to, unfortunately, I played their game a little bit and I had to do this testing for the PCR test, but it wasn't the one that went up your nose. It was this one that you like spit in a cup basically. And so I spat in a cup, I think 2 or 3 times. I forget if it was 2 or if it was 3. But when I went to go hand those in, there were about 10 or so other cups every single time that I passed it in. And so I knew that there were people that weren't vaccinated, but I didn't know if they were in my building. I was in building K.
Did they only do it with the unvaccinated?
That's what they did with the unvaccinated.
Oh, wow.
They made the unvaxxed go get PCR tests. And the only way that my team didn't know that I was unvaccinated is because I was a contract worker. And so my vaccine status remained hidden to everyone at Pfizer, and it was only dealt with my contract company, which is a blessing in disguise, because if my manager knew, she would have probably questioned me and encouraged me to go get booster shots and things of that nature.
Can you? What type of people did you work around with? Like, who are like? What can you describe them? Because I mean, if they're all like just robots, like NPCs per se.
I would say very much NPCs. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily all sinister people, but some of them could be behind some bigger
just
agendas
money and power hungry
of knowing what was going on. Like, so in my whistleblower story, like I said, I was able to go reobtain Pfizer insider recordings, and one of the first big ones was the one with my manager Conwall Gill. And Conwall, she was my direct manager, direct report, team lead of the analytical team that we worked on, and she said things along the lines of, this is a money game because of the mRNA vaccine agenda, as well as Albert Bourla had no idea what was going on in real time, as well as Ugur Sahin. They had no idea what was going on in real time. And she said that the whole thing had to do with politics. I elicited her on why booster shots were going into people's arms in the United States when places in like India or whatever country I said were not getting their first two, and she said, oh, it's just politics, right? And so quotes like that combined with, and to answer your question, she's an Indian lady. Like I don't know if she was born in this country. I'm not, it's not to like get into like race or anything, but if you're not born in this country and you're just being spoon-fed 200 to 300K for being on this COVID vaccine project, of course you're just gonna check the boxes and look the other way.
They also come from a caste system where there are certain people in their society that are completely invisible and less than human. So like that's who we're important. People believe in caste systems.
Yeah, and so Conwall said those things. Ramin Davari, he said that, I elicited him on, it's an interesting conversation to say the least. He created a metaphor on vaccine deaths and injury, saying that Pfizer is like a chip company, and when you speak out against chip companies and how their chips aren't good for you, are you going to get mad? Of course you're going to get mad. And then he basically said, people eat chips all day and you're going to die, and nobody's talking about that. And so that creates a metaphor technically for people who are taking vaccines all the time and they're going to end up dying because it's not actually good for them.
Oh wow, I never thought about that. It's like a junkie.
Yeah, so there's that
junkie.
metaphor, and then there's the Nick Warren information, which had he's a Pfizer vice president of biopharmaceutical science, where he went on the FDA board for the 5 to 11-year-old vaccine approval. And
Unbelievable.
he said to me behind closed doors that he gamed the FDA based off of the formulation system that was approved during this FDA meeting.
And they're
the
all
short end-
ex-Pfizer people, right, on the FDA board or other pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, they flip-flop basically. That's what they do. If you work at the FDA, you're going to go work at Pfizer and vice versa. Pfizer, you're going to go to the FDA. They're all buddies. And Pfizer and the FDA, the story really is the fact that Pfizer and the FDA came together on a bioequivalence agreement and approved a vaccine, the phosphate buffer saline, which can only be stored at minus 80 degrees Celsius, whereas the tris buffer can be stored at minus 80 degrees Celsius as well as 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, which is a walk-in freezer slash refrigerator temperature, which is way easier to use. The issue regarding these formulations is vaccine A, the PBS one, was tested on kids and adults, whereas the tris buffer was not tested at all. And they used a bioequivalence based off of the fact that the formulations were almost the same, except they changed the buffer on the last step and said, oh, well, everything else is the same, so let's just approve this guy because it'll be easier on us. And to me, that was fraud. And then the fact that Nick Warren told me that he gamed the FDA because he was asked about this during the FDA meeting and he danced around it. And then they just ended up approving it at the end. So it was public information, yes, but who watches an 8.5 hour long live stream on this FDA approval? Not a lot of people. Not a lot of people fully understand these types of things, especially when they're inserted for a minute and then it just goes right over your head. And so he told me he gamed the FDA in a private meeting, and there was a lot of other stuff that was said in that meeting, but that was the most bombshell thing that I received for sure. And I gave this information away to Project Veritas without backing it up myself. I was a naive 23-year-old kid basically, and the reason I didn't do it is because I trusted these people so much based off of how close we were working together. And I didn't think that there was no way that they were going to not release this information. And so I sat down with O'Keefe on December 4th.
Before we get into that, because I do want to get into your journey with dealing with James O'Keefe, something I found very interesting is that you said that the company that created the vaccine, which we could go at the highest levels, they could believe this, and this is what I believe it is, a bioweapon, right? Let's just say that they made their own people take it. Now, is that a level of psychopath? Because we see all these people dying from turbo cancer. That's something I never heard before. Before vaccine, did you hear turbo cancer?
No, dude, no.
That's a last 5-year term. And then we start seeing the head of Google. She took it, Susan Wojcicki or whatever her name is. She took it. She got turbo cancer and she died. So it's super interesting to me that even the lie they perpetrated on their own to their own employees, and then the elites. This is a woman at YouTube who censored, vaccine injury, the negative side effects of vaccine, well, actually COVID was. And in the end, it bit her in the ass. They made her take it too. So it's like, is anybody safe?
I don't think anybody's safe, but I do think that they have water vaccines.
You
Like,
mean placebo?
yeah, like the one they gave Biden. You're not. What if he just starts having a seizure?
They think that they gave a lot of athletes that, too.
Yeah, it was just
And some got real ones and still had nasty side effects. But what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's entirely possible that there was the saline in anywhere from 40 to 60% of these shots, and then there were ones that were probably ticking time bombs in a way, and then there were ones that were meant to kill you within a week or so of taking it. Because I used a real world situation on eliciting that guy Ramin Davari, who's Conwall's boss. I said my mom's friend's mom or aunt died in the bathroom after taking the Pfizer vaccine like 4 hours prior. She just collapsed in her bathroom and died. I brought this up to this guy and he said, yeah, it's not our job to worry about that. Like, people die.
Oh, my God. Oh,
Isn't
my
that crazy?
God. That's serial killer shit.
Horrific. Why do you think they let them take the J&J off the market?
Probably because the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine were more poisonous. And
Yeah,
it was
that's funny. That's always been my thought. Yeah.
it was 2 shots of poison instead of one. And so they wanted you to take the 2 to destroy your body further versus the one and done. I feel like the J&J shot maybe was a little less harmful. Who knows? It's hard to say. I mean, I think that
Makes
they were
sense,
all
huh?
poison.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, don't take any of these. But if I had to take one, it would have been the J&J, most likely, you know.
That was
But
always my thought. Yeah, my family that was
know,
dead set on it,
that's
I
all
was like,
hypothetical.
take it. Yeah. Take it, J&J.
Damn, that's so crazy, the level of psychopath. So you're basically not only laying your freedom on the line, you're laying your life on the line. I mean, these people, they're gangsters. They're just gangsters in like more expensive suits. You know, they obviously, like, based on the statement you just said, it's not our problem to worry about that stuff. I mean, that's so detached from humanity. You know, you're going in here, you're gathering evidence, you bring it to Project Veritas. And when did you realize that there might be some issues?
it was around Thanksgiving time of 2021, which was after I had obtained all this information, where they just kind of kept stringing me along, telling me, like, oh, get ready for an interview. Like, it's going to happen. Just stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. And then after Thanksgiving, it was like December 1st, I got a phone call and they told me, we're not going to tell your whistleblower story because they were too worried about the FBI raid and these recording consent laws, which to me, it's like, why didn't you tell me in the first place? You know, and it's such a
that's
breach
suspect
of.
too, dude. Because if they're worried about recording consent laws, how are they getting all these guys to give up all the family secrets because they want to bang somebody?
Were you in a different state, or is it because you weren't in public? What was the?
It's because of being in the state of Massachusetts.
Okay.
They provided me with these cameras, and so there's a large gray area into what was going on, and they were complicit in giving me these cameras, and so that was a driving force, as well as this FBI raid that occurred, which to me, from my perspective, I don't explicitly say it in the film, but I draw a lot of questions asking, why was this FBI raid planted right in the middle of my whistleblower time period while working with Project Veritas when this Ashley Biden diary story was investigated over a year prior in October of 2020? They got raided by the feds November 4th and November 6th. And then O'Keefe goes on Sean Hannity. And meanwhile, I'm doing this, expose on the microscope. So Stu Peters went viral with Carrie Madej, saw hundreds of thousands of views across potentially multiple platforms. At least on Rumble, though, it got up to like 700,000 views. Ooh. So a decent chunk. And she literally said, Project Veritas is working with the Pfizer whistleblower. Stay tuned. And basically spilled the beans. And then Boom, a week and a half later, got raided by the FBI. Where are you really going to tell me to my face that this is to do with Ashley Biden's diary? Come on, like at least like let's ask some more questions here. And then they offered me a job. You know, they said, but we can offer you a job because you're good at this and we know you don't want to work at Pfizer anymore. And I pleaded with them, guys, kids are going to die. People are going to die because you're not going to tell a story. And then I stayed at Pfizer for 4 months and then I took the job because I was just praying. God told me, like, I was praying to the Holy Spirit and Jesus told me, go work at Project Veritas and get your Pfizer story back because there's no way that anyone's going to believe you without getting this information back. So that's what I did.
What do you mean? So you didn't have copies of it, or you just had to get back for them for the sake of just being able to control the narrative?
The recordings that are in my documentary with Kamal Gill and Ramin Davari, the evidence, like the undercover footage, you can tell it's undercover. One's with a coffee camera and one is with a button camera. They're inside the walls of Pfizer. I resigned from Pfizer without that footage. And I went to go work at Project Veritas and I reobtained the information because I got the Jordan Tristan Walker story from getting the biggest story of Project Veritas history. And then one thing led to another where I built rapport. And then like 4 days after that story, someone sent me my footage back. Nightingale, actually. Her name is Nightingale, Alicia Gamble. She sent me the footage because James O'Keefe was considering telling my whistleblower story after I got the undercover sting on Jordan Walker. So that's how I reobtained my footage, essentially. And that was all God. Like, that was a divine intervention from God. I can't say anything other than that on how it all happened.
Do you believe that Project Veritas is controlled opposition Project Monarch?
In some way, shape, or form, 100%. Yeah. The way my story played out, it has to be. The way James O'Keefe acts, like you were saying, like with the costumes that he wears, with
I mean, they're so bad. They're so
what's
bad.
going
Bobby
on.
Valentine when he came back. Remember Bobby Valentine got ejected playing for the Met, coaching the Mets, and then he came back out with just a mustache on and said at the end of the bench, "That's like it's comical." I mean, it's like so.
I mean, with the going to Bohemian Grove is the ultimate cherry on top of everything. I mean, that's the cherry on top that I needed to tell this story for sure. I mean, he always smelled like a rat. And I never trusted him the day that he said, I'm not telling your whistleblower story, because his reason was he wanted to protect Project Veritas, in that I was going to go to jail was what he was going to say, is what he was telling me. And to me, that's foolish. Like, I already had done the deed and I had the evidence, and it was evidence exposing Pfizer for legitimate crimes and fraud against humanity that people would have woken up to and wouldn't have taken this vaccine. And to offer me a job, it was a breach of the contract that we originally signed, of a contributor agreement. And then he offered, you're good at this job, so come be an investigative journalist for us. I think you can help us. They baited me to leave for sure. I mean, I went to essentially go investigate them. This is counterintelligence, is what it is. The reality of the situation is it's counterintelligence. And I've been told behind the scenes that this is connected to Blackwater, Eric Prince. This is connected to potential CIA, NSA, DARPA, the whole 9 yards. This is like government infiltration of the alternative media. And so the conspiracy theorists that are questioning alternative media talking heads are right about this.
How did he defend going to Bohemian Grove? You said you talked to him about it. How does he defend that? He didn't record there, right?
I'm going undercover with some gay lizards.
We
could play it if you guys want to listen to it, but he literally said,
listen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, can we play it? Because it says, like, I googled and it says based on the provided searches, there's no evidence of him mentioning it.
Yeah, let's
Here,
hear
you
it.
guys
right.
can.
I just said it.
I requested
Yeah, it's good.
to
Let
It's
him
good.
share.
do it, XG. Stop it.
It's good.
Here,
Stop. XG works for Pfizer. He doesn't want this to get out.
is that it? You guys
Yep,
see?
we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hit share sound
All right.
too?
So it's towards the end where the whole conversation is played, so I'll just skim to the end. But basically,
Right
let's
there,
go.
probably something
Let's
right
play
there.
it right here. Here, this is good context actually, and you guys, we can chat about it. Being invited to. You guys hear it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You might
Yeah?
want to start a little earlier, just a tiny bit earlier, just like seconds earlier.
He looks like a game show host from the 80s, I think.
She left. Julie Trammell had brought up to me that she had found evidence that James was being invited to the Bohemian Grove. James told the team that he was.
Guys, I will be unavailable, unable to even look at my phone from July 20th to the 27th. While I'm gone, I expect this team post every day on my Twitter account, have videos ready to go each and every day while I'm gone. We cannot just go 10 days dead silent.
The very time James was going off grid was the exact week of the encampment at the Grove. Knowing that James was alleged to be headed to California for the secret gathering at the Grove, prior to his trip, I set out to corroborate my story completely as best as I could. On August 1st, I obtained a photo of James O'Keefe's tent slip next to his book, American Muckraker, when I was at his house in Northvale, New Jersey. Carrot Top hooked me up by throwing the tent slip directly in my direction while I was working, and I proceeded to take a picture.
Yeah. There it is.
Says it, Monte Rio, California, Bohemian Grove Camp. This says Ty Benders, and then this says Mr. James O'Keefe, and then
Whoa.
Tide bender.
Got
How
it.
does that? Is that like one
Man,
of their?
these code
it's
names
one
are
of the
great.
camp names.
O'Keefe got O'Keefed. I love this.
It's like one of those like there's everybody's on their different camp.
I'm
depending
sure
what-
they had different camps,
Yeah.
different rules
So-
for different fools.
James was supposedly invited as a guest, or maybe he's an unofficial member of some sorts. But Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson also were supposedly there. I don't have evidence of that, but that's how deep these media groups are going. But let me keep playing. I just wanted to pause it so you guys could like acknowledge the ticket because it was
So
nice and
what
close up.
for those listeners? There's a book, then there's a letter. There looks like a small drive, I guess that is a black drive, and then there's a bag tag, a suit, almost like a suitcase tag, almost
It's a camp tag basically.
a camp
You
tag,
need, you need this basically to get into Bohemian Grove is what I've been told from other sources actually since I came out with this information. People told me that you need this type of ticket to get in.
Oh, this is interesting. I'm looking at a list of camps, and this says it's called tie binders because in the 30s,
Yeah.
the camp was mostly made up of executives from railroad companies. And
Yes.
so it's a,
damn, dude, and it's an orange ticket with a brown, looks like a nut, but it's not nut, a nut for screwing. Boom, 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 and then it says in black, Bohemian Grove, Monte Rio, California, gate, camp, tie binders, and then Mr. James O'Keefe on it. Damn.
That's crazy. And it gets crazier. Listen to this phone call. Listen to this phone call. When I went to go to the bathroom. Finally, on August 23rd, James O'Keefe came clean to me and called me saying,
I went to this Bohemian club and it's upset people. So I just wanted to hear from you and kind of take your temperature and see how you're feeling, see how you're doing, like what's going through your mind.
Oh, he's freaking out.
how did you even get invited there? And it's the most powerful secret society in the world.
It's I feel like my own team is like eliciting me and challenging me and questioning me. I was just a guest. I didn't see anything wrong there. Some of our people I've known for many years were there. I saw something, I would tell you.
Okay. Wink, wink.
I think there's a lot of conspiracy theories and stuff, and I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything that crossed the line, or anything like that. Some strange things, but nothing like what's portrayed by like Alex Jones or anyone else, as far as I can see. And there's a lot of people.
No, it's a famous video.
That are involved in that.
So that part answers your question, actually,
Fascinating.
Johnny. The part where you said that the supporters are there, that go there, and then this last part, it's another couple of minutes, but he quivers basically. He has nowhere to turn because my story puts James in a corner, and he will not address what has happened with this Bohemian Grove stuff with Pfizer, because I got his biggest story ever. I'm his top journalist that got his biggest story in history, and I'm the one who's O'Keefe, like you guys just said. It's crazy, and I
love it.
Listen to this.
Some people on the team are really challenging me in a fundamental way. And it's really more than I can take right now.
Oh my God!
So I just need to know, like, are you with me? Are you? And just tell me the truth. Like,
truthfully, James, I can't say yes to that because of everything that we've been through from Pfizer whistleblower to now.
I can't feel like my own team is like investigating. You have to trust me. It sounds like you're not.
I called James back that day, and I wanted to bring up to him more about Pfizer and my story being buried, and how this was truly a crime against humanity.
You want to continue our conversation?
Sure thing. James, you advised it, and it wasn't even my decision to go about it this way. It was a manipulative.
I thought about the tape again after the February. I thought about revisiting it, but a lot of people said it's a few years old. It's a little old. It's probably not advisable to do it.
Oh my God!
Our attorney advised us not to look at that footage.
Not to look at it.
And I think it's important that we listen to our attorneys who are trying to help us.
Your handler?
Keep us out of trouble.
Oh
there are
my
certain lines that we
God!
just can't cross. Certain lines that I can't cross. I wouldn't advise that you cross.
Wow.
Dude, that's crazy. Sounds like a threat too.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who has no problem with going into Planned Parenthood and getting them to admit they sell baby parts. Like, that's pretty.
Still playing something.
Is it?
So
I thought it was done.
there's a little bit left, but I mean, you guys are spot on. I mean, that is crazy. Like, the fact that he named his podcast now after the release of my documentary. Like a year later, he comes out with this podcast called "My Price Is My Life," and there was a reel going around the internet that got millions of views of him saying "My price is my life" at a speech or some conference, and it happened right after I exposed him. It's crazy to me the psychological operations that this guy is going out there saying that. He can't, do this because our attorneys said so. I won't touch it with a 10-foot pole because my attorneys said so. But he's out there naming his podcast "My Price Is My Life," and he has also released footage and given cameras to other citizen journalists that he's worked with currently, with cameras in two-party consent states. He was giving cameras to people in Massachusetts at O'Keefe Media Group. So what was wrong with me? It's crazy. Did you want me to play the rest of this and then we can debrief?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Or, literally, codenamed microscope. I literally showed people like the nanotechnology in this shot, James, like the bioweapon behind it. Why don't we do an interview together on how fucked up the whole thing was?
Because you just said that I'm trying to extort you, and you've crossed. You can't. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I've been through a lot in the sense that, like, I come from being a Pfizer whistleblower, right? I want to blow the whistle on this bioweapon, and you shut me up.
Right?
You shut me up.
And who shut you up?
You did.
Who shut you up?
I was silenced by you, sir. Regarding Pfizer, I was a source. Remember, I came to you, wanted to blow the whistle on the whole thing.
What would cause all of the people, all of your former colleagues, to caution you to release that? Why would they caution you to release that?
Probably because they don't want the truth to get out, because of all the powerful information behind it all. It's way too powerful. Such as the Vice President Nick Warren saying he gamed the system, gamed the FDA. Telling me that's not public information. Millions of people died, James, from this shot. The moral, ethical thing to do is bypass these things on paper, written laws, that don't actually matter. God's law is what matters, sir. This part's funny, too. On July 13th, James and I went for a walk in the woods near his house in Northvale, New Jersey.
You went through what you wanted. You got that information. And even if it isn't released, like the video of what you did, like you even write about it. Although that might be also what the microscope stuff. And I was talking to him about things like you I remember when I met you in that restaurant and I remember like talking to you. I remember this guy was kind of dick.
I'm not going to argue with you, James.
That's hot, dude.
That's good shit.
Yeah,
Holy
that's
crap.
fire,
they,
dude.
They taught you, right? They taught you how to fucking do some undercover work, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They taught me intelligence, guys. Guys, I was an intelligence asset. That's what I was. I played their game against them, though. That's what this was. I mean, the whole thing with him saying, I thought about the February, he didn't know what to say. Because the backstory of what I'm trying to portray to you guys is my story, the Pfizer story on directed evolution on Jordan Walker, James's biggest story ever, right? It got me the recordings essentially of the Conwell Gill footage and the Nick Warren footage, which, I mean, we could also watch that if we don't have time, it's fine.
How did you lose it? You just didn't keep copies? Is that?
I just did not keep copies. I trusted them too much.
Okay.
I've done that before, so that does happen.
And that is why I don't trust a single freaking person ever. Like, I don't. The only person I can trust is myself.
Dude. Always back it up.
Always make copies and never trust a rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in the movie where the guy hands the guy papers, and he just immediately burns them, and you're like, damn it, should have made copies.
Yes. And it's also that, like, when someone has a meteoric rise, like O'Keefe had, doing the most insane shit and not really getting any kind of blowback early, and then the blowback that he gets later on also kind of builds his legend. Like, does it blow up in his face, the FBI raids, or does it make him bigger? Yeah. If you got raided by the FBI and you really got raided, are you going to continue down that road?
Do you guys know the conviction rate of FBI raids?
What?
80,
I
90.
think it's like over 95%. I'd say it's like
it's huge.
I think it's in the 98s or 99%. And there were 0 convictions of the 3 raids that occurred. So don't tell me that there was not something fishy going on. And they had cameras on the inside of the raid itself. Like, I understand you're investigative journalists and undercover journalists, but what are the odds that you turn on an undercover camera, like, in your kitchen, basically, and the FBI is, like, caught looking through your kitchen.
And if that comes out, how does it not bring the wrath of God on him even more?
Absolutely.
Like if the FBI and the CIA think you're fucking with them, they'll destroy you.
Like they'll kill you. Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, you think we're playing games, dude?"
I mean, we just had John on. Look what they did to him.
Yeah, he went to jail, bro.
Well, and he's talked about people who he thinks he suggested that they've killed people. Yeah.
Well, so, and that's one other thing about my situation too that is kind of nuts, because nobody's touched me actually. Like, and I kind of shrug my shoulders, and I feel like it's an explanation as for like what could be happening in the sense of the alternative media not really paying attention to me. The mainstream media won't touch me at all. But the biggest thing in regards to reporting was a LifeSite news article where they talked about, documentary indicates James O'Keefe may be a CIA asset. And the reporter, Patrick Delaney, asked O'Keefe 6 times for comment. 6 times. Called him, emailed him, texted him from the number I gave him. Wouldn't respond, and then responded like 2 or 3 days after on a tweet to this lady who was like a pundit for Steve Bannon and like worked with LifeSite a little bit. Her name's Elizabeth. I forget her last name. He responded to a quote tweet from her saying that this is troubling, where she responded to the article being posted. To me, it's very interesting that I have not been attacked by like government agencies, CIA, FBI, NSA in regards to like a public thing. To me, it's probably more or less they just track me on my on social media, which everybody's being tracked at this point. But they must not think I don't know. I mean, either maybe I'm too dangerous and they just can't acknowledge it, or they just refuse to acknowledge me in any sense because
I think there's something
they don't want to turn me into a martyr.
And also like if they pushed you along with an invisible hand, and then you came around and whistleblowed on them and really fucked them, those are the people they don't like. I don't know if it's because you were natural and this was a progression and this is kind of the game they play. I don't know. I really don't know. Or maybe in some weird way they like that your story got out because it scares people. Like I'm trying to think about that, because there's people who move up and they never get fucked with. And then the people who you see the hidden hand push, they want to go off reservation and they just get murked. So it's an interesting thing why they haven't gone after you. It's like why they go after Gary Webb, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I will say that there are certain points in time after my story where I wasn't like that vocal on social media necessarily. I mean, I've been on over 60 podcasts in the last year and a half, so I've been doing what I can do. But I mean, I certainly could go on and do my own show like every single day, but like at a certain point during the story, like a part of me was just also kind of taking in that fear of just acknowledging that what I've done is very out there in regards to the exposure of the alternative media and Pfizer, and that if I do say too much, like they might just try and kill me, or they might try and mess with my family, which would, not be ideal, obviously. And so I'm a conscious human and I'm not perfect, and I have been a little bit more outspoken as of late. But I do just go on a lot of people's shows and just share the story and let the documentary speak for itself.
Well, we hope that your appearance on here will open up more eyes. I think our fans have an understanding before this of maybe what was going on, but you definitely solidified it with us. And it was a great episode, man. It was really great. So one more time, tell our listeners where they can find you.
My website is justintegrity.net. And you guys can check out my documentary, Project Whistleblower. It's a double agent documentary where it's my whistleblower testimony on how I went undercover inside Pfizer and then wasn't able to tell it, and then went undercover against James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, and O'Keefe Media Group, and exposed him for Bohemian Grove. All of those details are in there, and then there's more. There's a Twitter story that was not told where there's potential pedophilia on Twitter, as well as an FDA story that was not told. There's a whole lot, and one thing I will say too is if you guys resonate with my work and want to potentially work with me down the road, I'm opening up to working with people one-on-one in regards to kind of how I see the world and mind control and everything else. And so I'm working on building more of a community myself. And I don't really have a foundation for it right now, but if you want to email me, my email is justin@justintegrity, justintegrity.net. Shoot me an email, or you can DM me on Twitter, or as my friends say, TwatterX. Justin Integrity _ on Twitter. And I'm justin.leslie3 on Instagram. And Sam and the guys, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to share this story, share my testimony, and have a fun conversation. Honestly, it was cool to be able to do this. And I didn't really know what to expect because, I mean, Sam, I will say you did bring up O'Keefe and Epstein on Joe Rogan that one time, which is what triggered Marty to do this because he wanted you to talk to me. So I find it funny, but I really appreciated our conversation.
Well,
today.
we loved it, dude. And my final thoughts on James, it's like my opinion on Candace Owens. It's like I'm gonna listen to you until you do something that lets me know you're not authentic. And if that day comes, and this sounds like it to me, I mean, I've already thought this about James O'Keefe.
Yeah, you've said that to me for a while.
Yeah, that just like too much access, not enough blowback, and these costumes are just dog shit. So it's like you're not fooling anybody, and you just think we're dumb. You're like going in there dressed like a sprocket at Davos, and everyone's just giving you the goods. Yeah. It's just stupid.
Before you go, Justin, can I ask you, did having to put forward so often throughout your day when you were working there kind of a false face, and even to James, did that take anything out of you? Was there a toll personally for you?
Oh yeah. Oh, guys, my heart was broken from what happened. And I had to wear 3 masks basically. I had my like family mask, at home Justin mask. I had my at work mask, and then there's like the real me mask, because I had to be different in front of my family. I had to be different in front of my colleagues. And then the real me was like just going insane almost. Not that I am insane. I literally.
Yeah, I get it, dude.
I was wearing 3 different identities, and then there's the 4th mask of when I would go out on an undercover meeting and fake being gay on a date where a guy wanted to freaking get in my pants. Guys, oh my God. There's real shit that happens. Excuse me, my
dude,
friend.
it is crazy how guys will give up all the secrets for ass.
Yeah.
Dude. One of my first, I think it was my first or second date, the dude smoked me right here. He tried to get a
give you a little smooch.
got a little right there.
He's a soldier.
He didn't get more than that, but oh my gosh.
You should get a purple heart for that, really.
Yes, you deserve.
He's a soldier.
A pink heart. We should give him a pink heart.
That happened, and then that Jordan Walker guy, he grabbed my my butt basically on one of the hugs.
Really? Well, it's good to be loved, dude. At least somebody wants you. There'll be agent, nobody wants you.
Hey, ladies, I'm single. If you're listening to this,
where you
just open the DMs.
Come on.
You just open the DMs for you, dog. Go get them.
Smoke shows be hitting you up left and right.
Go get them, ladies.
Great episode. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you for your service, Justin.
Yeah, that was dope. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they called it taking one for the team.
Oh yeah,
that's what they called it.
Buddy.
There were other guys too that did this at Veritas. There were other journalists that
they need a full-blown gay at Veritas. Really?
Why can't they just get a gay?
You could get way
How about
more.
the guy that just gave up the ass and act like he was doing it only to get the story? You're like, dude, you're always getting fucked.
Yeah,
What
why is this video from Ben?
Why are you always getting it every time? No one else has given up once. You've given up 9 9 times.
You keep coming back with a secret video from
Yeah.
Ben smoking every time. Like, why are you?
Why is your
There was
angle
one.
weird
I'll say
from?
this. There was one guy who was bisexual who would do the gay dates, and he like enjoyed it because it's
I bet he
Free meal, dude.
Yeah.
Free meal. Rich dude.
maybe
Yeah.
more than free meal.
All right, great episodes. Let's break it down. All right, guys, what did you guys think? Justin.
Some balls on that guy.
Big time, dude.
Yeah.
That was a crazy episode.
That O'Keefe stuff. I mean that was juicy.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, you do this long enough, you get a feel for people. You get a feel for when something doesn't seem natural. Like the Nick Shirley rise. It's like suddenly this guy's everywhere. He's in front of the Senate. He's testifying. And you're like, so this guy who goes from a YouTuber or streamer suddenly gets the biggest story of all time. And now he's everywhere on every show. And even though I agree with what he's saying on there, but it's the rise that matters. Like, you know, I like Candace Owens. I know I might not be the majority, even though a lot of people watch her. There's a lot of people who think there's something nefarious going on. But I like a lot of the things she's saying. But the minute she fakes the funk on a nasty dunk, like, I'm out.
What's the argument against her? What's the evidence?
They say like it's this thing that happens with conspiracy theorists where if they get one little thing wrong, it means it's all wrong.
It's not the Sandy Schmuck.
No.
It's never, which is such a weird thing. Like, she did stories on Sandy Hook. I'm like, did you say your grandpa worked there?
Yeah, but that's not what's bothering
But for
people.
me, it's more of her reach. Like, if you're really like so this thing went
She's
around.
hot. That helps.
That helps a lot.
I mean, dude, if you're good looking, you crush on the internet.
Yes.
That's why I have to be so fucking interesting.
And she kept it together after pregnancy too, you know? Like,
Well, it's kind of like when Gloria Stefan
Yeah.
got in a bus wreck and they're like, she's working her ass. She also has 10 trainers helping her do it. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Candace has everything you could possibly have to help a mom bounce back and look great.
yeah, I love it. Like they're like Men's Health is like, get Hugh Jackman ripped, you know, follow Hugh Jackman's
10
plan
days.
for the Wolverine.
Get
yeah.
Hugh Hackman ripped in 10 days.
Yeah, it's like, okay, do I have $100,000 to spend on personal trainers,
Yeah.
you know, and rent out my own gym?
Get as jacked as a closeted gay man. But back to this,
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, if you do certain things, you're going to. There was even people who were like, "Hey, dude, you know, you being on Alex Jones hurt your reputation." I go, "Why would it hurt my reputation?" Except for people who just hate their lives and just looking for a reason to hate people. Like, I've known Alex Jones for over a decade. You know, it's like, or I'd say 9 years. I'd known him since he came on Tinfoil Hat, and we've been cool ever since. And, you know, I mean, like, he's the biggest show in this genre.
Easy.
And he can believe something different than what you believe and not be Satan incarnate.
And
you know?
even when I don't agree with Alex Jones, it doesn't mean I don't like him.
Right, that's what I'm just saying. Yeah, it's like there's so much of that. Like you don't believe the exact right list of beliefs that I've approved in my heart, so you're an asshole.
Imagine
You know?
if someone go, "Hey, dude, if I'm doing Joe Rogan and halfway through Joe's like, can you just take this over and just talk by yourself for 1 hour?"
That'd be nice.
Wouldn't that be crazy? Oh, dude, you're compromised. What?
Yeah.
What do you go do? I know
What?
you probably don't know, but what do you think Alex want to go do?
He had laryngitis.
Oh, okay.
I don't
So
know
he
what you-
basically brought me on because he couldn't talk. He's like, this
okay.
guy doesn't shut
Oh
up.
my gosh. Okay.
Let him go.
That's so funny. What do you think? Like that's what people say about a guy we all like, Ian Carroll. You know that he just popped like, and that was suspicious to them. What do you? What's your response to that? Because I mean, I think we both like that guy, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love
like,
Ian.
again, like you can go, okay, that bracelet thing is weird.
that was weird. Yeah.
That what the time said 2:33, right?
Yeah.
That's weird. But overall, the things that he's saying is correct. Again, when he comes out with something that's so left field, okay, take this, Nick Fuentes, right? Now, unless Nick Fuentes is so deep and is such a trickster, he literally put out a shirt that looks like Epstein's shirt. Have you seen this?
No.
See if you can look up what is his name? Look up Nick Fuentes merch And then, okay, go to Nick Fuentes' merch store. Okay.
I see his bed. It's got that structure.
Go up. Nope, that's not. Keep going down.
Frog.
Keep going down. It's a new thing he showed. Let's see if he shows it.
I'm not logged into Twitter. That's the place to search for. Are you on Twitter? Actually,
No,
you can search
I'm on.
there. That would be the place to look for it.
No, put in Nick Fuentes Epstein merch.
Yeah, but probably on Twitter because definitely somebody tweeted about that.
I got it. Oh, fuck, I'm not logged in. God damn it.
While you're doing that, why don't you go to samtripoli.com while you're looking that up?
Yeah, I'll look it up actually.
Comedy Chaos on the 10th. Perryville, Maryland with Eddie Bravo, Tinfoil Hat, and Pottstown, PA Soul Joes. My improv troupe is in Vegas. It is not stand-up. It's improv. It's a free show. I don't do free shows, but because I get to see my friends, I'm going to go out there.
Didn't it do improv?
I'm going to do him. Dude, I
I've just
started
never seen you do it.
improv.
I know you talk about doing it. I know that's how you,
I used
you
to-
and Tom. Yeah, with Tom. Yeah, with the girl.
I mean, dude, what we do is improv.
Yeah, true,
None
yeah.
of it's scripted.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just like try not to go for the funny. That's the biggest part of improv and why it's such a slower pace than stand-up. They always try to do improv stand-up shows, and it's two different energies. Bakersfield, Yuma, back to Comedy Chaos in Hollywood. Batavia, Dallas, Fort Worth.
Ooh.
Dallas and Fort Worth. Albuquerque's just Sam Tripoli. I got to change that. Lawrence, Kansas, Tulsa. More dates come. I just got a date in Toronto at a very small theater, so I'm going to be working on all that. So, yeah.
Did you find that merch or no?
Yes. Yeah, it's like a quarter zip. Like
Yeah.
zip up. I got it.
Do you want to do it now or when we're done with this? With my website.
I thought he was asking me, so I thought you were
Oh,
done.
no, just let's finish this and we'll go back to that.
Yeah. do
Okay,
it.
so you go to samtripoli.com. All my videos are there. My fucking premium content with my own thumbnails. Looking good. Making my own thumbnail. Look, I actually got his face in there. That takes a lot of work. But yeah, that's that. Go back. Cash Daddy's Patreon. Talk about it.
Yeah, Cash Ice Patreon. All the thumbnails are genuine human creations on Cash Ice. Howie Dewey there. He will just walk down the street and drop nuggets of gold.
He looks cold.
Yeah, it is because it is cold.
Like he's got a subject there. Fed meeting could get wild, so he's gonna give you the lowdown on the Fed meeting.
Sounds like he went to Bohemian Grove.
He follows earnings reports every week. You know, keeps you up to date with those. Anything interesting coming out of those. Yeah, and it's a good way to
Good way to get into
study,
the investment game.
learn.
Get your money working for you. Go back.
Even if you don't have you're not ready to start putting away for retirement, it's just a good way to learn too.
Go down, go past that. T-shirts. Go check out T-shirts.
Oh, is your new T-shirt flying? Is that going to be at your show?
I haven't asked, but there it is. I get my news from Sam Tripoli on the back, and the front says Tinfoil Hat, the most trusted news, the name in news. So that's my baby. I love that shirt. It's very funny. I gotta get Jeff Dye one. Again, we got gold and silver. Pat Militich's minerals, and he's got great parasite stuff. If you're trying to fight parasites, AquaCure Hydrogen Brown Gas. Hydrogen helps keep you young. Harley Ray, one of the best candles and crystal shops. Chemical Free Body, took it today. Love it. Subsequently, I take it. Tim James, he's got the magic elixir. Joel Staley workout. EMF rocks. He wants to come on and talk about the 49ers stuff. Should we get him on that or on Broken Sim to talk about the radiation?
But the 49ers is radiation.
You,
San Francisco?
on here or Punch Drunk or BS?
You can put them on.
Which one do you want?
What do you think?
I think we should do maybe.
It's not very funny though, right?
It's not very funny. Well, I mean, it could be funny, dude. I can make anything funny. Prometheus,
But, I mean,
and
it's
then
kinda
Brain
serious.
Supreme on or off.
Off this week. I'm
Oh,
off.
he's
Not gonna lie,
off.
I'm
Look,
off.
it's taking effect.
No, you can tell.
What? Anything for you?
Go check out my podcast. XG marks the spot where we raffle off things that Sam signs.
Oh, okay, I'm signing them. Look
Yeah, look at that. So you can go over there. XG marks the spot. We're
like this.
raffling off canvases signed by Sam and artwork by
You're
Chili
like
Millie.
Shohei's assistant, just getting him to sign all the shit so he can sell it to people.
So if you want this, go get it over there at XG marks the spot, please.
Johnny, Talk about top 100 comedy podcast.
New Broken Salmon's out wherever you are hearing podcasts right now. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, you can also find Broken Sam. Give us a 5-star review. If you do that, we will read it on the show. We read every 5-star review on the show.
All right. Back to the show. Johnny,
okay,
did you
so
find
here,
that?
Yeah, I got it right here. I'll share it with you guys. Wait, okay, you're not in the Zoom, are you?
Oh, no.
Can you... shit.
Want to airdrop it?
Yeah, let me text or airdrop it. Yeah. Share. Airdrop. Feel free to.
And he's
talk,
really
talk,
and he's really selling this. Like,
I don't have Wi-Fi.
He showed it on his show. Now, he could be King Troll,
he's definitely his top control.
you know?
What? Oh, you think Fuentes is? Yeah, I could see him doing it to be funny,
Right.
because he is. I mean, he is King Troll, 100%. But I would like to hear it out of his mouth that that's what he was doing. I just sent you the link in your email. Actually,
Okay.
that's because I'm only on hardwired, so it's not gonna work.
Would you buy
yeah,
it?
it says-
Anybody wearing that merch?
No.
Yeah, especially when they find out it's Jeffrey Epstein's thing. Now, every picture you take with it in it, people are like, look, he has the same shirt on as Jeffrey Epstein.
It says after spending the last 2 weeks earnestly praising Jeffrey Epstein's ephophilia. What is? I gotta look that up. I don't know what that one is. An adult who is sexually attracted to adolescents. Okay, we can just call those pedophiles, right?
Yeah, can we call that? Can we stop coming up with new terms?
To celebrate Epstein's birthday, Nick Fuentes' official merch store is now selling Epstein quarter zips. And this is what, according to this guy, Fuentes said, this whole pedo thing, it's like, they are really pedophilia. It's not really pedophilia. They weren't trafficking 5-year-olds. It was like they were technically not legal. Big deal.
Well, we got in a discussion about that. It's like, I'm sorry, there's a 16-year-old and a 5-year-old are different energies. They're both bad, but one is incredibly dark. Incredibly
Yeah, one
dark.
has no feminine features whatsoever.
Yeah, one isn't mental. You got these girls in high school all saying they want to grow up and become look at that. That's fun to want to become OnlyFans,
That's not a good move.
Go back again. Oh yeah, can you show it on? Yeah, it's USA. He has it as USA.
Yeah, that is not a good move.
He has to be trolling.
Did you hear that interview that's been going around of Trump on Stern talking about young women?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a little dark too.
Yeah. Why do you think he loved owning Miss Teen USA?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes you think. And he's talking about how the most troubled women are the best in bed.
Yeah, Stern used to talk about that all the time. He made jokes about them getting molested.
Trump was like right there with him,
They're like, the ones who get molested, they either end up mentally ill or they're great in the sack. And you're like, Jesus, dude. Even when I heard that, I go, dude, that's really dark. Yeah. It's like super dark, bro.
I never understood why that has such an allure. I guess there are some people in comedy who really like to touch, the third rail.
Well, when you, especially in Hollywood, you go, they've made it so politically correct that there's only two edgy things they could talk about without getting in trouble. Satanism, right? Because that's kind of edgy. That's anti-religion, And then the other thing is pedophilia because kids can't march against them. Kids can't come together and get somebody canceled. It's like when the guest was like, "Hey, dude, you're making kids take something against their will. They can't take it. They can't say no because you're making them take it." So do whatever you want. But it's like really gross and sad.
Totally agree.
And it's like I do jokes about getting felt up, by Larry Watts, but at the end of the day, it's me talking about me.
It's your lived experience. It's your truth.
Yeah, that's my truth. But even back in the day, if you had pedo jokes, it's just we're so open, we're so knowledgeable now about what's really going on and the effects of that it has become a taboo thing because it is so dark. The guests that we're having on next after this show, the stuff he got into is even more insane. So that's my opinion.
No, totally.
So I mean, this show confirmed my opinion of what James O'Keefe was. I it's very interesting because when I first learned about James O'Keefe, I was very much I was more liberal, and I'm still liberal, but I have like conservative common sense. I'm more common sense than I am on both of them, on both sides. So I used to be like, this guy's only going after the left. And it's still true. He's going after left and maybe what he deems as authority. But he's definitely adding to the divide and conquer. And you never see him do shows on the right. But he was getting so much access and nothing was happening to him. And we're just supposed to believe that his hidden cameras are so hidden that nobody knows it.
I mean, he couldn't see the ones they
I mean,
they
our
pulled
guy
on
was using
him.
hidden cameras.
Yeah, he couldn't see the ones our friends.
Oh,
pulled
yeah,
on
that's
him.
true.
Yeah.
Good point. Or how about that Pam Bondi video he got of her at lunch perfectly shot of her talking about how there's tens of thousands of images and videos. And then next day she's like, there's nothing there. Nothing exists. It's like, you got to look at everything through a demoralization lens. How are they trying to demoralize you? That's how it goes.